Welcome to Catch You Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modis. This podcast is about living and playing in the Florida Keys, a 125-mile-long chain of islands that runs from Key Largo to Key West. I cover my favorite sport, fishing, but also all the many things to see and do down here in the islands. Catch You Outdoors is hosted by Spotify, also brought to you by your favorite podcast network. So kick back and relax with me in the Keys. This week's episode of Catch You Outdoors is number 148. Hello all. Good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on when you're listening to the podcast. Tuned in. I'm recording this on Sunday, July the 21st. Lord, we're getting close to the end of July. Can't believe it. Saharan dust is back, and once again, it's playing a significant part in holding in the humidity and keeping most of the rain at bay over the past week. We're supposed to get some of the wet stuff early in the week, maybe. I've gotten to the point where I'm not very trusting of the weather talking heads on TV. I actually now spend a lot more time on the National Weather Service site and the National Hurricane Center site, just trying to forecast on my own. I've decided doing it my own self. It's the only way I'm ever going to get it right out there. But golly Moses. The Miami talking heads, sometimes you're just like, what are you looking at? Today's winds will be 5 to 10. It's 10 to 15, gusting to 20 is what it was when I went out on Wednesday. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but it's just like I get out there and I look around and I think they are obviously not paying attention, or they don't know what they're doing. There's one of the stations I won't mention, advertises like 11 years running with the most accurate forecast. Well, God forbid. What's the station that's below you doing? Anyway, okay, rant over. Today's heat index is about 112. Yeah, man, we've had more heat indexes than I can remember in a long time. Of course, when the dust comes across, when the African dust comes over and settles over us, there's good news in that it kills the moisture, and it also kills the ability for a hurricane to get itself going. The low pressure systems just don't do well underneath it, and it doesn't create much rain either. So I guess I shouldn't complain, but at this point, when somebody tells you that the heat index is 112, they ain't down here. With the oppressive humidity as it is, it's time to enjoy the air conditioning. However, you can enjoy a pool. You can do that. Janelle and I did that yesterday. We had a pool day yesterday at the Safe Harbor Marina down in Islamorada. Nice time. Met some new folks hanging around the pool. That was fun. Talked about places to go and see and eat and all that kind of stuff. You get a lot of good information passing it around with each other when you're at the pool. Bigger boats went out, but the little boats not so much. It was blowing yesterday. That was one of those days. Oh, it's not going to be bad. Yeah, it was. 20 to 25 gusts. A flats boat, that just takes the fun right out of it. You can fish some areas, don't get me wrong. You can tuck yourself up against an island or something, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where the fish are going to be. And that's what's bad about it. The fish are not. You look out on the water out here in Everglades National Park. You look out at Florida Bay, Gulf, the Atlantic Ocean patch. You think, this is the fishiest place I ever laid eyes on. Well, that's true, but it's also huge, and those fish can spread out when they want to. So it makes hunting them a little difficult sometimes. I guess there is a front headed this way, though. So that was part of what the blowing was yesterday, today. The wind's howling today again. I mean, I'm looking out the window right now watching the trees bend over. So, but anyway, there is weather headed this way, and we're supposed to get some rain this evening, and hopefully we'll get some. We're supposed to up to 60% tomorrow, so maybe they'll be right, because we could use a little water. We'll see what happens. Here's a follow-up on the mini lobster season that occurred last week. It proved to be okay. There really wasn't a lot of activity up this way. So Islamorada North, not so much. And maybe even down below that. There's a reason for that. You cannot hunt lobster on the bay side of where we live all the way down through Tavernier and Islamorada, and even south of that. We border Florida Bay, and Florida Bay, almost all of it is Everglades National Park. They don't allow lobstering or crabbing or anything else. They allow you to fish. That's probably a miracle. That you're not allowed to crab or you can't spearfish. There's a lot of stuff you cannot do in the park. So people can't lobster there. So when they turned on this mini one-day season, most everyone that was doing it was down in Marathon, south to Key West. So it's pretty quiet up here. I have to, other than the traffic passing through to get there, and it was nowhere near as bad as people thought it was going to be. So it turned out to be okay. Even I was surprised. So we're all, the new name now, from us all the way through the sheriff's office and the FWC, they called it the mini season. The real mini season, the traditional mini season, starts this coming week. So by the time you listen to this on Tuesday, it'll be happening on, I think it's on Wednesday, Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the last consecutive Wednesday, Thursday of the month of July. And that will be a zoo. As a matter of fact, we noticed boats moving around today, and I think you'll start to see a lot of people come in late tonight and into Monday because they make a week of it. This is kind of a family event, and mostly Florida. You don't see a lot of like cars from Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. It's mostly Florida, and they come down and camp. They come down and stay in the hotels. They do this thing every single year with the same people, and they may double up. They may get a big old house down in Big Pine, and all of them move. All 12 of them move into a house together to save a little money and bring several boats with them. But it's an event. And it's an event to avoid unless you want to get into it. I mean, for us up here, traveling around becomes a problem. And I don't worry about it too much. When we first moved here, you start to learn the cycles, and you're like, okay, I can make the grocery at blah, blah time, and I can go out to eat at blah, blah time, and the rest of the time just avoid it. And that's what we do. So, man, they're bringing money down here. You're not supposed to complain about it. But anyway, that was interesting that they just didn't have this big holy moly crazy thing on the mini season. Again, let's see, I just looked at this. The real one is on July 24th and 25th. Right, there we go, 2 days. And again, if you're going to come down here to fish and you want to get away, come down to Key Largo, come down to Islamorada and fish on the bay side because they can't lobster over there. And I guarantee you're going to have a whole lot of water all to yourself because everyone's going to be out front on the patch reefs. In this area, they're not going to be back in the back much. Can't be. It's against the law. I fished only one day this past week. I fished on Wednesday. It was good, but not as good as the week before that I had on the podcast. I was scolding myself on the last podcast about fly fishing and not packing a fly rod with me. And, I had no explanations other than it just kind of fell by the wayside. So I made sure to get that sucker out and fish until my shoulders said no on Wednesday. It wasn't that long a day. We had thunder showers show up, and of course the wind, as I said, came up when they said it wasn't going to. It did, which makes for a rough ride home, and I try to avoid that if I can. I'm getting too old for that nonsense. I did get on a real nice sea trout bite out on the flats. Couple of places actually, one that I knew about and another one I tried. I did real well. I fished almost entirely on fly till my shoulder said you better quit. But I got a lot of decent fish. I'd say I caught at least 24 sea trout. Nothing legal, some close, some really close, some 14s, but none of the real tiny ones I caught the week before. The week before I mentioned I was out with a friend of mine and we caught some like 8-inch, 9-inch little trout mixed in with some bigger ones, not many. But this time they were larger. And I don't know if I can say that's because of the fly I was using, which it could be. I mean, the nice thing about tossing flies is they look much more like little baits than the soft plastic stuff we throw. But whatever, it worked great. The storm clouds came up and I had to scoot. So I didn't stay out past, I don't think I even made it till, usually I try to make it past 11 to like noon and come home. I don't think I made it past 10:30. I was looking at the sky going, this ain't good. I probably should get off the water. Had a real decent inbound tide, full moon, lots of bait around, tons of finger mullet running along the mangrove islands. Boy, if you want to throw a net for fingers, man, now would be the time to do. I mean, thousands of them. They were so thick and so bad that it had muddied the water up. They were, basically they were mudding, and which killed the sight fishing. If I like going into mangrove and sight fishing, looking for snook, reds, trouts, whatever might be running on that edge, jacks, whatever, and you couldn't see a thing. It was like milky water. And then after I was there for about 15 minutes, I said, "Oh, it's mullet. They're everywhere." You could start seeing them splashing around, and they were getting chased by the big jacks. So anyway. Clouser minnow. That's what I used the whole time. It's just an old standby. It's kind of like my pink shine. I like the lime green, kind of a light limey green over white. It's not really chartreuse. It's more green than chartreuse. Like a light colored limey green. And eyes are red. Barbell eyes are red. They're about maybe a 3-inch version, 2.5 to 3 inches long. Some of the stuff I tie myself. And that's pretty much all I used. I am going to do this, though. For obvious reasons, I'm going to start tying pink ones. Duh. Pink and white. Imagine that. My own version of pink shine clouser minnow flies. So we'll see what happens. I got time tomorrow. It's going to rain, so I'm going to sit down and probably tie me up some pink ones. And I'll let you know how that goes. Provided I get out this week, things have got to calm down a bit. I'm hoping they will. What else is going on? Oh, I mentioned this. I know to myself, it's pretty obvious if I'm going to tie pink, you know why. Yeah, okay, so we already said that. But I was reading a note and going, oh, yeah, duh. What else is happening? Oh, recent Saturday red tide report came across this morning. None. Don't have any in Florida. This has been an amazing year. I guess I should knock on here. I'm going to do it. There, you're on knock on wood. It's been pretty interesting because everyone was up in arms over the extra rain, the extra dumping of Lake Okeechobee. I know Captains for Clean Water were just completely going off the chain as well. They weren't alone and they weren't wrong. A lot of other people were, but this time around the red tide just did not happen. And when it did, it was a small smattering up above Sarasota. I think that's the only thing I've even read about for the last several months. Half a year. And I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I just know that it hasn't formed and hasn't done what it's done in past years, which is usually go, bug crazy. But we've been lucky this time around. So I was very, very happy. Every time I get that weekly, I hold my breath when I open the email up. I go, oh, look, they didn't find any anywhere again. So some of my listeners might not be aware of this, but the ICAST is happening this week up in Orlando. This is the enormous annual fishing trade show that only dealers and media are invited to attend. And you have to have credentials too. There's a lot of stuff to get. You can't sneak your buddy in. Let's just put it that way. I didn't plan on going this time around. I'll probably go next year. And I didn't go last year either. I went the year before that. So I've skipped 2 years in a row. It's not so much about seeing the new goodies, which I, of course, love to do, especially the ones that aren't released yet. They have a room there where, you can't tell. You can see, but you can't talk about them. It's really kind of cool. And they're in like generic white boxes. They haven't even been labeled yet. And a lot of times you'll pick up a reel that doesn't even have any markings on it yet. And this is what's coming out stuff. And some of it's very innovative and it's really neat to look at. So I kind of missed that part. But more importantly, I miss my friends. I miss the old people in the business and the friends in the business that I've known for years. And that's where everybody kind of gets together. That's where you start running into people you haven't seen in a while. So I'm going to have to go next year. I got to go catch up. So it's not about really seeing new goodies. It's more about seeing old buddies is what it's really about. I did, however, comment to my wife, I guess it was this morning, might have been yesterday. My equipment view is not that bad. I've been to so many ICAST that I'm on the mailing list, the email list of just about every company you can possibly imagine. And of course, they started hammering me about a month ago, and it got crazy. Almost nothing in my email was nothing but ICAST stuff and what's going to be at the show, who's going to be there, what we're showing, what we've got. Here's some new models. This is the stuff that's not, hidden away in the in the little, I forget what they call that thing. There's an innovation room, I guess, but it's the normal stuff. Like Daiwa's got a new this, and Shimano's got a new that, and here's a new rod, and here's a new gizmo, and here's new clothing. I mean, they do a lot of fishing clothing and stuff like that. So I was getting emails, all the new stuff, especially over the last 3 or 4 days. Once iCast hit, this stuff was being released and just shown. I didn't have to go anywhere. I just sat here looking and going, "Oh, that's cool. Ooh, that's cool." So there is something to that. But then I get back to the old buddies thing, and I missed that part. But anyway, I got a lot of it at home here. I will siphon through it, sift it, if you will. And next week I'll try to do a little segment on iCast and just anything that catches my eye that I think you all might be interested in. But we'll see what happens on that one. Oh, let's see what's next. This one's moving along pretty quick. My book, silly me. What I Know About Fishing the Florida Keys is now available on my website at catchyoutdoors.com. Go to page 4. Already selling well. Get your signed first release copy while you can. I only ordered 100. It's going down. Ain't dwindling. It's going down though. No worries though. Their unsigned copies are now available on Amazon. It's officially on Amazon, so you can order it there if you want. But remember, it ain't signed and it ain't quite as glossy pretty as the original first releases are. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I got a mess of emails that I thought I'd answer, and this I don't know. This should be interesting. I do this every now and then. This used to be called Hodgepodge. When I was titling my my podcast over the past several years, the early year 1, 2, I titled a lot of my podcasts, and the ones called Hodgepodge are the ones where I just got all kinds of weirdness and I put it all in one place to try to get it done. So, it's important, but at the same time, it wasn't enough to do a whole podcast on. So let's see, I received over the past couple of weeks via email basically this was all about the podcast. So the first was it said iCast, why not go? Well, I think I just explained some of it, but I didn't really say why. I kind of answered that already, sort of. I have lots and lots of irons in the fire this year between the book, trying to get the book done, songwriting, company. There's just a lot of things going on, doctor visits, and I couldn't fit it in. I will do my best next year. For me personally, and for you all, but I mean for me personally, I really do like to get back and see folks. But that's my excuse. Why no politics on the podcast? I love that. I got several of those. Based on what's going on right now, I don't delve into my political views much. Maybe about environmental things, fishing rules, water quality, that kind of stuff. I don't really think I have the power to make someone vote for this person or that person. I just don't. I don't really care for that. When it comes to outdoors and outdoor sports and outdoor playing around and going to the beach and boating and stuff, I don't know. I just don't. And you don't hear it from too many people that are in that business. And when you do, you kind of wonder to yourself, are you losing customers by picking sides? And I don't know. I'm for your information, I'm a registered independent. I started out as a Democrat. I went to Republican, and then I went to independent. I wander. And the reason I do is I can't lock down in any one political area. I really like to hear all the views and then do my best to make a choice that works for me, not for you. So that's pretty much it. And that's why I just don't do it on the podcast. Let's see. And I didn't do it on the radio show either, for that matter. Now that I think about it, I avoided it like the plague. I can be real opinionated, just ask anybody, about some things like best restaurants and best vodka and rum and where the best fishing is, just ask. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Do tourists bug you? I love that. That's a great line. No, not really, as long as they go home. That's a tongue-in-cheek answer. Seriously, the Keys would probably fail miserably. No, all of Florida. And I don't even want to say the Keys. West Coast, East Coast, Middle, Orlando. It would fail miserably without them and their money. and they can be very amusing. I mean that in a good way, not in a bad way. I absolutely love their preconceived notions about the Keys. I love their preconceived notions about sharks and gators and crocodiles and all the things that we live with here on a fairly, boa constrictors. Yeah, right. It's just interesting. And I love it in the Keys when they come down and they wonder where the beaches are, because there's only about 2, maybe 3 real ones, and even those they're not like when I lived in Fort Lauderdale and you have an honest to goodness beach that runs for miles up the coast and it's several hundred yards wide. We don't have that. And so I always I kind of feel sorry for them. You would think they do a little more reading and understand that's what's going to happen, but whatever. Oh yeah, this observation: you can spot a tourist on US 1 really easily. I've noticed this every time I drive. They're usually driving a rental convertible Mustang, various colors, with the top down in the summer when the temps are around 95 degrees with a heat advisory about 105. I can't even imagine what sitting in a convertible must be like when you're stopped at a stop sign or one of our few traffic lights or in the traffic. Can you imagine you get stuck in the Alamorada traffic? It's 95, 106 to 112 heat, and you're in a convertible? No. And here's the funny part about it is when you see the couple in the car, it'll be the guy and the gal. And the guy, he's pretty, blasé about the whole thing. He's kind of enjoying it. The lady doesn't look happy at all. I don't know if it's about her hair getting messed up or she's just hot or, but you can look at the gal in the car and go, she ain't happy about this. So, and I know Janelle's like that with me. She likes to have a window rolled up going down the road. She doesn't want it. She's got real thick hair. I can understand that. She don't want to get it messed up and have to comb it out again. But that was one of my favorite ones. Do tourists bug you? No, they don't bug me. They're just fun to watch. What would you recommend doing if you could do just one thing while in the Keys? This was pretty easy, and it popped into my head almost immediately, so it wasn't something I had to really, really think about. Weather permitting, watch a sunrise and a sunset over the water on the same day. That's kind of a special thing that you can do here. And I mean not anywhere else. You could do it in Florida if you drive across the state. You could get up in the morning in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Palm Beaches, and watch a beautiful sunrise over the Atlantic, and then zip across the state from Tampa, wherever, Tampa, Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Captiva, and watch the sun go down in the same day. Here, you can do it by walking across the street, so it's really kind of unique and kind of cool. And I've always, even before I moved here, all the way back into the 80s, 90s when I first started coming down to the Keys, it still always struck me that was a really cool thing to do. So that's what I'd recommend. Get up early enough to watch the sun come up and then hang out down at one of the restaurants or one of the waterside bars on the bayside and watch the sun go down over water. Let's see. Why don't you play other songs on your podcast like you used to do on the radio? And what they're talking about is the bumper music in between cutting out for ads and cutting back in from advertising. I would play the latest and greatest weird fishing song that I'd found, or if it was related to anything outdoors. So I would peruse most of the song spots just to see what they had out there and then add those as bumper music. Well, I ain't rich. And in a word, it's licensing. I'm not rich enough to have a BMI license, and so I can't play anything I want by other artists. You can mix those little songs into like Facebook Reels and other online communication type stuff. They allow you to do little pieces of it because they apparently are taking care of that little bit of a license for you. You're not playing the whole song in most cases. You're just playing a chunk of the song, kind of like what I did in radio. But I can't do that on a podcast. You have to pay for licensing, and it's expensive. And I don't work to make money on this podcast. If I did, then I might consider it. But even then, I don't think I'd do it. Like I paid a fee for one song. The song that you hear, the music that plays at the beginning and at the end of my podcast, I paid for that. I paid a one-time license that allows me to play that. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember the name of the thing. Here, hang on a second here. I got the computer up here in front of me. If I don't screw up and bump something. It's called Going On for a While. It's just a musical interlude. Going On for a While is the name of it. And I bought that so that I could play it at the beginning and ends. However, here's a twist for you. This is one of my notions. Since I write and create songs, I'm going to start incorporating parts of them into my podcast. As a matter of fact, on year number 4, we're in season 3 right now, and we're on episode 1. What did I say it was? 148, I think it is. Yeah, 148. I've done the math, and it looks to me like number 157 will be the first episode of the 4th season, and I'm going to put my music on as the beginning and end music in there. So hold your breath. Hang on. I also did the math for the date for you, so you can mark it down on your calendar. Yeah, it'll be a major event, right? September the 24th. Tuesday, September the 24th. That'll be episode number 157, which will begin season number 4. And I'm going to put some of my music on there. Just a ditty bop at the beginning and a ditty bop at the end. So, you know why? Because I can. I don't have to pay me. Well, I could. Legally. Let's see. What else is going on? Last week I mentioned that I was revamping my tackle bag once more and adding flies for fly fishing. And I said that I'd follow up with you. You already heard part of it. It went very well. I probably increased my gas mileage too by lowering my overall weight in the boat. It was interesting because I did all the tackle, not just the fly. I mean, I put together, as I mentioned last week, a small fly box with just the ones I'd use in it, and I wound up using only one. So there's probably room to take some of those out. And then the big tackle bag went down to a little tackle bag. I really cut back on the stuff that I was carrying in that big bag. So I got extra gas mileage out of that move. So anyway. Before I jump into useless information, I want to pass along a couple of recent discoveries. I made little notes of this just so I wouldn't forget. Last week, we did our usual evening out for dinner, and I suggested to Jonelle she pick something somewhere new that we haven't tried, and that's not hard here, okay? We are just like a lot of other people. You get locked into that favorite restaurant of yours, and you just go, and you enjoy it, and you go back because you had a good time and the food was good, so you go back again. But there are literally, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of them between where we live in Islamorada, that's 25 miles, of nothing but places to eat. And so I said, pick something. So she landed on C&C Woodfire Eats. So it's the letter C, ampersand C, CNC Woodfire Eats here in Key Largo. And it seems like it's a pizza place, but it turned out to be a whole lot more than that. Obviously, they have wood-fired pizza. We don't eat pizza, truthfully. I mean, we just aren't fans of the deep dish gooey stuff. We just don't do that. I've always called it tomato sauce on bread. I just don't like it. However, I do like thin sliced and especially wood fired with quality toppings on it. Something really good on it. And they had that in spades. But we wound up eating meatballs, man. I love meat. And wood-fired meatballs, holy moly. They had these little bitty cast iron skillets. You've probably seen them. They're like a little 5-inch skillet, little bitty things. And they would put the meatballs in there and then fire them up. Let me tell you what, those suckers would stay hot, too. You don't dare touch that little frying pan, if you want to call it that, cast iron skillet, I guess, when they bring it out. But they offered it with, I think it was marinara and with pesto, two different toppings. Janelle got marinara and I got the pesto, and it was delicious. I mean, absolutely delicious. There was only about 5 meatballs on there, but it's just amazing how rich they were and how good. You didn't really have a desire to go for anything else. Their homemade bread was wonderful. I had a Caesar salad that was top notch. I usually judge people by their Caesar salad, and it was really, really good. But the ending was the dessert. Man, oh man. Most of you that know me know I love my sweets. And they had pistachio olive oil brownie, salted caramel. It was topped with a vanilla ice cream. Whew. I'm going back. I brought some home. We brought some bread home too. We'll be back for sure. This is a funky little place. There's no other way to put it. If you're in Key Largo, it's on the northbound side of the split. So if you're going south, you really won't see it till you go past it and come back to the north through the island in the middle of the road. That's after you get out of town, get past the last light. It's on the right-hand side going north. It's just basically a little concrete-looking building with CNC written on the front of it. You park around back. Front, if you can get there. It's easier to do side and back. And they've got it darkened down with lots of window covers to keep the heat out. And for obvious reasons, since there's a fire going on inside. It had communal seatings at large tables. We sat at the bar. The bar was really large and great. The bartender was wonderful. Her name's Alexandra. She was fantastic. And we had a really good time. Nice group of people. We got to chatting actually with other people at the bar, which is usually what happens in the Keys. And the food was good. And by looking at what everyone else was eating, that's kind of you kind of snoop and look. You could just tell everyone was really enjoying themselves. So we'll try that again. We'll definitely try that again. We got to do some more new stuff, but we'll try it again. Find number 2. That came at the pool yesterday. One of the guys that takes care of the place was skimming the pool, with one of those nets to get the bugs and the leaves and the lizards out of the pool. Yes, we have those. We were the only ones there. This is funny. We got there at 10:30ish, I guess, and we were still the only ones there. People don't really show up in the Keys to the pool until about noon. But anyway, we're the only ones there. And as he was cleaning, he asked, "Would you guys like a little music out here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They've got those in-ground outdoor speakers, that are hidden in the bushes. And I'm like, "Sure." So he turned on the music, and it started. We were both really taken by what we were hearing. This was not your everyday. This wasn't Zach Brown and Jimmy Buffett and Kenny Chesney and all that kind of stuff. It was different but good. It was like a mix of listening to. Oh gosh, how can I it was folk rock, blues, maybe a little bit of jazz and bluegrass. Just all that mixed together. And it appeared to be different bands at first. And then I said to Janelle, it almost sounds like Keys music, like somebody, like these are homespun down here. So when the guy came back through, we asked, and he said, no. He said, no, it's original music. By a band called the Wood Brothers, just like it sounds. 2 brothers, and there's this third guy. I looked it up. His name is, I think it's Jax or Jane Ricks, Jano Ricks, and they got like 10 albums, maybe more. They've been around for quite a while. They have played all kinds of venues everywhere. It's basically a 3-piece band. And it was fantastic. And the more I listened to it, the more I got hooked sitting there at the pool. It was just nice to hear something totally new that really caught my ear. And Janelle said the same thing. So I got home and I looked them up and started playing a couple of cuts here at the house. And it's excellent. So there you go. So some of you know the Wood Brothers. You're going to laugh and go, we should have told you. I mean, 10 albums later? Yeah, probably. And there's also 5 live ones too. I listened to some of the live music and it was really, really good. So there's your tip. Look up the Wood Brothers. I found them right away. They're all over the music services, so that's not a big problem. But give them a listen if you get a chance. What time is it? It's definitely time for. Wow, I can't believe I've gotten 33 minutes out of this. I thought it was going to be about 20. All right, so let's see, where are we going? Oh, it's time for useless information.
And now, from the original book of useless information.
You are a reject! You are useless! You can get a job down here cleaning toilets!
Here's your host, Captain Rob Modies.
Well, he swears up and down he's useless, but
he might be all right eventually, but completely useless.
With useless information.
All right, here we go. Let's see. I opened the book to the heading 4, F-O-R-E, exclamation, as in golf. Americans spend more than $630 million a year on golf balls. I know when I played golf, I helped with that for sure. I was great at losing them. Before 1850, golf balls were made of leather and stuffed with feathers. Golfing great Ben Hogan's famous reply when asked how to improve one's game was, hit the ball closer to the hole. I like that. And in the United States, there are more than 10,000 golf courses. Jeez. Well, you know. And that's it. Until next week. And before I go, here's some final words. Do your best to turn off the TV. It's been bad lately. In our house, we've been watching more old movies and sometimes what we like to call murder shows or murder TV. Yeah, you know, the stuff that's like a 3-part series, but about some crazy person who went extra crazy and, of course, got caught. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a 3-part series. Janelle likes to watch the Food Channel, and I'm partial to music on YouTube. There's some really great old concert footage there. I watched Carly Simon the other night. Damn, she was really good in her heyday. That, of course, took me to James Taylor, which in turn took me to John Prine, which took me to J.D. Souther, the Eagles. You understand what happens. You listen to one and just sit back, and what it'll do is it'll automatically, oh, he likes that. Okay, good. Well, then we'll try this. You know, we old farts had it really good back in the 60s and 70s. I'm really sorry some of you missed it, but there's always YouTube. So turn it on. Like I say every week, get outside, enjoy wherever you are, and remember that winter is coming. I used to really hate winter until I moved to the Keys. I'll talk to you all next week. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening, please tell a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The Facebook page is Catch Outdoors. The website's catchoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous podcasts and a schedule of what's coming up. Until next time, get outdoors and enjoy.